Speaking of Afghanistan, the disaster continues to unfold. 13 American servicemen dead. 13 American servicemen lost their lives. 12 Marines, 1 Navy corpsman. God bless those servicemen. I salute to them, their families. You guys know my son was a Marine, is a Marine. He's out now, but once a Marine, always a Marine. I know a lot of folks who are in service now. I know people in the 82nd Airborne that are there, that are in the arena, in the area, on the airfield. It's bad. Joe Biden made this choice. This is all Joe Biden. This is 100% on Joe Biden. He says the buck stops at me and now I'll blame everybody else, but it's 100% on Joe Biden. He killed those people. He made the stupid decisions that led to that. He gave up Bagram Air Force Base. He turned security over to the Taliban. Apparently, he's intimately involved in all this stuff. I find that a little hard to believe because he doesn't seem even cogent. The speech he gave after those servicemen died was one of the most horrifying, humiliating, embarrassing things I've ever seen. He mumbled, he stumbled, he was literally not cogent. It was like he had just crawled out of bed, hadn't had a cup of coffee, and had been sleeping for 50 years or something. It was horrifyingly bad. And he continued to be worse and worse. You know, when the bodies of these servicemen come home, there is a protocol for how you, transfer these servicemen to their families. It takes place at Dover Air Force Base. And Joe Biden had the good sense to at least be there and to be there for this transfer ceremony. And yet there are images of Joe Biden literally checking his watch, very obviously, during the ceremony. Like, look, how much longer is it? When do I get my pudding? When do I get my insured drink? Maybe he was looking at how long he has to be president. I wish it were not very long for us, for the rest of us. But he literally, that's how disrespectful he was. That's how much he doesn't give a damn about these men who gave their lives. His wife, Jill, Dr. Jill, I'm supposed to call her, right? The greatest doctor ever to live next to Dr. Fauci. Jill Biden had the good sense not to check her watch. She stood there hand over heart, appropriately respectful during the entire ceremony. But our president couldn't even be bothered to do that because honestly, he doesn't seem to give a damn about any of this stuff. He certainly doesn't give a damn about the Afghans that will be killed. Right? I saw another story this week that was astounding to me. You know, we have an American university there in Kabul. Right? So this is a university sponsored by the United States. It's a Western style university, men and women going to school together. Students had tried to escape, had come to the airport, had been turned away. And this is what they had been told. You're going to love this. This is an exact quote. They were told at the gate, "We have given your names to the Taliban." Is that some way supposed to make them feel better? Can you imagine? How would you feel? Just imagine yourself in that circumstance. You are afraid of being killed by the Taliban. You know that these guys are 8th century goat herding cavemen who now have $80 billion worth of American military equipment, by the way. Night vision goggles, hour guns, over 600,000 small arms, 75,000 vehicles, Cobra helicopters. They've got it all the ammunition they could ever need. And then you hear from the American government, "We have given them your name. We've given your name to the Taliban." How would you feel? I heard somebody on Fox News this week talking to somebody who was trying to get him out. They had a live telephone conversation, and the guy said, "I know I'm dead. I know I'm not going to get out." He'd been aiding the Americans for something like 17 years. He said, "I know I'm going to die." He had been turned away at the airport. He actually got inside the airport, and they've sent him back outside the gate. He had American servicemen vouching for him, and they sent him outside the gate. And he likely will die because of Joe Biden. Because of Joe Biden. I will also add, because of our military commanders who lack the actual, I'm just going to say the word, who lack the balls to actually say no, to actually object to killing our own servicemen, to actually object to the horrors that we are committing by leaving Afghanistan the way we're leaving Afghanistan. I understand there's a reasonable argument to be had. Should we be there? Should we have been there? Should we be there this long? Should we leave? I get that argument. I'm in favor of staying, by the way, but I get that argument. But how we left, there's nobody that's saying we left properly. Leaving Bagram Air Force Base, leaving a secure Air Force Base and trying to secure an airfield. I just talked to somebody this week who has been to that airfield many times, who said, almost impossible to secure. So dangerous. The mountains right there, large buildings right there, close in on city streets. And we chose that instead of Bagram. That was Joe Biden's decision, by the way. Joe Biden was in on all of this stuff, apparently. Kamala Harris says she's always the last person in the room. It's on them that these American servicemen are dead. It's on them that Americans are being left behind. It's on them that I don't know how many, 75, 80, 100,000 Afghans who helped us are going to be left behind and are ultimately likely to be slaughtered by the Taliban, who in really weird Orwellian newspeak are now told that these are our allies. These are our partners now in Afghanistan, because ISIS-K is our enemy and the Taliban are our friends. Didn't the Taliban used to be our enemy too? Like a week ago or something? I mean, this is just absolute insanity. This is living in an Orwellian nightmare. And it's all on Joe Biden. There's actually a war going on in America, a war for the future of the country. What's this country going to look like? And we intend to win this war. The person who decides what we're fighting about is the person who wins the fight. There is a war going on which we must define correctly between people who believe that those in Washington, D.C. should decide for all of us and people who believe we should decide. We, the people, decide. So this project was founded with the idea that we're going to use Article 5 the way the founders gave it to us to restrain federal tyranny. And we're going to come up with ideas that I can't even possibly imagine right now. We're at war over a very simple question. A question you should ask yourself all the time when you hear government doing anything. And that question is, who decides? So God bless you all. We'll see you next week on The Battle Cry. I'm here live in Philadelphia at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you hear the phrase lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, these are the folks we should think of, those who anonymously gave their lives. Well, today you have a chance to volunteer. You need to volunteer for conventionofstates.com, the movement that's going to save the country. These folks are willing to step up and give everything. We need you to give just a little bit. Go to conventionofstates.com and volunteer today.